The referee points to the spot. The Wanda Metropolitano erupts. Arsenal have a penalty. Eberechi Eze has been fouled. Danny Makkelie has made his decision. Then VAR calls him to the monitor. The crowd gets louder. Makkelie walks over. He looks at the screen and he changes his mind. The penalty is gone. Mikel Arteta is described as incredibly fuming on the touchline. Declan Rice is so angry that he walks into that tunnel and tells the referee, "You have probably been paid." And within hours, Uefa's disciplinary body is reviewing whether Rice will be available for the second leg of a Champions League semi-final. That is where we are, 1-1. Odegaard off with a knee problem, Rice facing a potential ban, and the most important 10 days of Arsenal's season still ahead of them. Welcome to Melissa, Arsenal analyst. Let us break all of it down. Before we get into the details, I want you to understand what is at stake here. Arsenal are top of the Premier League. Arsenal are in the Champions League semi-final. They are 2 legs away from a European final and potentially a title race they could wrap up in the next few weeks. This is the most important period this club has experienced in a very long time. Every decision, every injury, every suspension and every piece of transfer business right now matters at a level that cannot be overstated. One wrong move, one bad week, and the entire season could unravel. That is the weight of this moment. And that is why every single detail I am about to go through matters. Now let us go through everything one by one. Fulham injury update from Marco Silva. Fulham manager Marco Silva confirmed before the Arsenal game that Ryan Sessegnon will be absent for the Arsenal match. And the one immediately after that, Silva said, and I quote directly, "It is not good news about him." Sessegnon is going to be out of the next game, and probably the one after will be the same story for him, and then we will have to assess him day by day. For the Arsenal game, for sure out. For the game after, for sure out. Silva also confirmed that Alex Iwobi remains unavailable, and so does Kevin, who appears to be another injury absentee. Kenny Tete is the one player who has a small chance of being involved, with Silva saying he will need to see how Tete responds from the last 2 training sessions. Silva was also cautious about other unnamed players, saying there are some doubts and they will assess them the day before the game. My analysis on this is straightforward. Fulham going into this game without Sessegnon, Iwobi and Kevin is significant. These are not fringe squad players. Sessegnon, when fit, adds pace down the left. Iwobi has been one of Fulham's more creative presences. The fact that their squad is already stretched coming into a game against the league leaders tells you that Arsenal, despite everything they are dealing with on their own side, will face a Fulham team that is not at full strength. However, do not underestimate Fulham. Marco Silva has consistently got results with limited resources. Arsenal cannot go into this game expecting an easy ride simply because Fulham have injuries. Martin Odegaard, injury concern. This is the one that has every Arsenal supporter deeply anxious. Martin Odegaard was taken off in the game against Atletico Madrid before the hour mark. The reason was knee discomfort, and this is not a new problem. His knee has troubled him for much of this season already. Arteta and Arsenal are described as sweating on his fitness. There is genuine uncertainty about whether he will be available for the Premier League clash against Fulham on Saturday, let alone the Champions League second leg against Atletico Madrid just days later. My analysis here is very clear. Odegaard is Arsenal's captain, their creative heartbeat, and their most important midfielder. When he is on the pitch, Arsenal look like a team that knows exactly what it is doing. When he is absent or below full fitness, you can see the difference. The timing of this concern is absolutely brutal. Saturday's Premier League game is massive because a win puts Arsenal 6 points clear at the top. Then comes the second leg of a Champions League semi-final 3 days after that. If Odegaard is not available for both, Arsenal will need to show a completely different level of resilience. This is the kind of injury situation that can define or derail a season. Arsenal fans encouraged for team bus welcome. Now, for something that feels more positive, it is being understood that Arsenal fans will be encouraged to line the route of the team bus on its way to the Emirates for the second leg of the Champions League semi-final against Atletico Madrid. The idea is to give the team a powerful show of support and to create an intimidating atmosphere for the arriving Atletico Madrid side before the game even begins. My analysis here is simple. Atmosphere matters in big European games. Atletico Madrid built their entire home leg on the back of an electric Wanda Metropolitano. The fans were loud, passionate, and absolutely played their part in the drama of the night. If Arsenal supporters can replicate that kind of energy outside the ground and inside the Emirates, it genuinely changes the dynamic of the occasion. The players feel it, the opponents feel it. This is not just a fan gesture. This is tactical atmosphere building, and it is exactly the kind of thing that can shift momentum in a tight two-legged tie. Gabriel Martinelli speaks on reaching the final. Gabriel Martinelli was asked directly whether he believes Arsenal can reach the Champions League final. His answer was honest, grounded and confident. He said, yes, of course, we play for Arsenal. We know how big the club is and we trust in ourselves. He acknowledged that going to the Wanda Metropolitano was always going to be a battle. He said they knew it was going to be a big one, a battle over there, and that Atletico Madrid have a really good side. He was honest in admitting that Arsenal could have done things better on the night, but he reinforced the belief that the draw away from home is workable. He said they take the draw, they go to London and they want to win the game to go to the final. My analysis is this. What I appreciate about Martinelli's response is that it was not the generic player interview. He did not pretend the night was easy. He did not pretend Arsenal played perfectly. He was honest about the difficulty of the opponent and honest about the room for improvement, but he paired that honesty with genuine belief. That combination of realism and confidence is exactly the mindset you want from a player going into a second leg where everything is still to play for. Declan Rice comments on the overturned penalty. Now, here is where things get complicated for Arsenal. Declan Rice spoke to Stan Sport after the game and said this. He said Eze's one is a clear penalty. He said he does not know how that has not been given. And then he added the line that is now causing him real problems. He said he thinks the fans provoked the decision and changed the referee's mind. My analysis on this is measured but honest. Rice is not wrong to be angry. The situation was genuinely controversial, as I will discuss further. But accusing a referee of being influenced by crowd noise in official post-match media is the kind of statement that Uefa's disciplinary body does not take lightly. Uefa treats any suggestion that a referee's integrity was compromised as a very serious matter. Rice has been down this road before. He received a 2-game ban when he was at West Ham after a similar rant following a Europa League semi-final defeat against Eintracht Frankfurt. The timing here is the real danger. Arsenal cannot afford to lose Rice for the second leg of this semi-final. He is one of their most important players in that midfield. If UEFA decide to charge him and impose a suspension, it would be a significant blow on top of all the other issues the club is currently managing. Opta supercomputer Champions League predictions. The Opta supercomputer has delivered its verdict on who is most likely to win the Champions League following the first legs of the semi-finals. And the news is good for Arsenal. Opta has tipped Arsenal as the favourites to win the trophy, giving them a 33.9% chance of lifting the Champions League. Paris Saint-Germain are close behind at 32.25%. Bayern Munich sit at 22.67%. And Atletico Madrid, despite being in the Final Four, are given just a 10.1% chance. My analysis here is interesting. The fact that Opta places Arsenal ahead of Paris Saint-Germain, ahead of Bayern Munich and well clear of Atletico tells you something important about how the data views this Arsenal side. They are not just a story, they are genuinely rated as the best team left in this competition based on all the statistical evidence available. However, I want to be very careful here. Opta models are built on data. They do not account for the human variables of injury, suspension, referee decisions or the kind of dramatic football that makes the Champions League what it is. The 33.9% figure is encouragement, not certainty. Mikel Arteta on Viktor Gyökeres. Mikel Arteta was asked whether it was another big night for Viktor Gyökeres. Arteta was complimentary but also critical of the overall team performance in the second half. He said Gyökeres had a very strong first half, especially when Arsenal were more dominant. He described him as ice cold to score the penalty in the manner that he did. He also noted that the second half changed and that there were things the team needed to do much better. My analysis is this. Arteta is always very precise in how he talks about his players publicly. He praised Gyökeres in the first half because the praise is deserved, but the caveat about the second half is telling. Arteta knows this team did not perform at its best for the full 90 minutes. He knows there are areas that need improving before the second leg. His final point, that they ended up finishing on top, suggests some composure at the end, that maybe the scoreline does not fully reflect. Dermot Gallagher backs Arsenal on overturned penalty. Sky Sports refereeing expert Dermot Gallagher made a very clear statement on the overturned penalty. He said he does not think there was enough to overturn it. He argued that the referee should never have been sent to the monitor in the first place. His assessment is that VAR did not have sufficient evidence to justify pulling the referee back for a review. My analysis here is important context for everything that has been said about this incident. When an experienced, respected refereeing analyst says publicly that the review should not have happened, that tells you something. It means that Rice's frustration, while expressed in a way that may get him in trouble, was not born from nothing. There was a genuine officiating error at the heart of this controversy. Whether that error was provoked by crowd noise, as Rice suggested, is impossible to prove, but the error itself appears to have been real. Martinelli reiterates confidence in second leg. Martinelli's words were picked up by multiple outlets after the game, which tells you they resonated. He described the away draw as a workable position and expressed full belief that Arsenal can go to the Emirates and win. He spoke specifically about how aware the players are of the size of the club and the responsibility that comes with representing Arsenal. My analysis is that consistency in messaging from the players matters in these moments. When one player speaks with confidence, it can read as individual bravado. When multiple players are saying the same thing, it reflects something more genuine about the group culture. Martinelli, Saka and others all spoke in the same measured but confident tone. That suggests this is not panic masked by false bravado. This looks like a squad that genuinely believes in its ability. Viktor Gyökeres makes Swedish history. Viktor Gyökeres' agent, Hassan Setinkaya, posted a message on Instagram celebrating something historic. The post read, "Swedish history was written yesterday. Our player Viktor Gyökeres, first ever Swede to score in a Champions League semi-final." The report also mentions that Gyökeres' agent waived £2 million in order to help facilitate the negotiations between Arsenal and Sporting Lisbon when the transfer was completed. My analysis here is one of pure appreciation. Records in football are not always as meaningful as they sound, but this one carries genuine weight. Scoring in a Champions League semi-final is one of the most elite experiences in club football. To be the first Swede in history to do it is remarkable. And the detail about the agent waiving £2 million is not a small thing. It suggests there was a genuine desire to make this move happen beyond just the financial mechanics of the deal. Gyökeres wanted Arsenal. His agent worked to make that happen. And last night in Madrid, he showed exactly why. Bukayo Saka speaks after the draw. Bukayo Saka gave his assessment of the 1-1 draw against Atletico. He described the squad as having mixed feelings, saying they would have liked to come away with a win, but they will take the draw. He framed it as half-time in the tie. He said the squad is confident going back to the Emirates. He added that they are really excited and going into the second leg with full confidence. He was also honest about the team's standards, saying that a draw is not bad, but that Arsenal are never really satisfied if they do not win, given the talent in the group. My analysis on this is that Saka's quote about never being satisfied reveals something fundamental about this Arsenal squad's mentality. They are not a team that celebrates just surviving. They want more. That hunger, when channeled correctly, is what makes the difference in high-pressure moments. Going into a second leg at home feeling that way is a good sign. Steven Gerrard advises Arteta on one change. Speaking on TNT Sports after the first leg, Steven Gerrard offered his tactical recommendation for the second leg. He praised the midfield combination of Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi, saying they are a really good combination. He added that Odegaard complements both of them and described the three as a real good trio, but then he made his key recommendation. He said in the second leg, Arsenal have to get Eberechi Eze on the pitch. He described Eze as someone who gives the team a little bit more spark, a little bit more power, and said he looks that little bit different. My analysis here is straightforward. Gerrard has identified something real. Eze came on in the first leg and immediately made things happen. The penalty incident was linked directly to his involvement. He brings a directness and an unpredictability that defenders find very difficult to deal with. Whether Arteta starts him or uses him from the bench is a decision for the manager. But the evidence from the first leg supports the idea that Eze in the second leg is going to be important. Diego Simeone on the penalty decisions. Atletico Madrid manager Diego Simeone gave his view on the penalty decisions from the night. On the first penalty, awarded for a foul on Gyökeres, Simeone argued that the player anticipated the contact and went to ground. He said that in a Champions League semi-final, you need a penalty that is really a penalty, and in his view, the referee felt it was one. On the overturned Eze penalty, Simeone acknowledged that VAR reversed the decision and called it the other way. My analysis on this is honest. Simeone is a manager who has built his entire career on finding the edges of the rules and maximising every possible advantage for his team. His argument that Gyökeres anticipated the contact is exactly the kind of narrative you would expect him to push. The referee gave the penalty. VAR did not intervene on that one. That means the officials at the highest level in Uefa were satisfied it was a penalty. Simeone's argument does not change that official conclusion. Martin Keegan on Gyökeres and Atletico's tacticals. Shift former Arsenal defender Martin Keegan noted that Victor Gyökeres was exceptional in the first half before Atletico Madrid made their tactical adjustment at half-time. Keegan described how Atletico switched to a back three and pushed their fullbacks higher. He said this change effectively neutralised Gyökeres in the second half. Keegan also noted that the drama around the penalty decision rejuvenated the atmosphere inside the Wanda Metropolitano. My analysis here adds a tactical layer to the story. Simeone made a half-time adjustment that worked. That is what elite managers do. The question for Mikel Arteta ahead of the second leg is how to counter that adjustment. Gyökeres has to find a way to be as effective in the second half of a game as he was in the first half against Atletico. And Arteta needs a tactical plan that anticipates and responds to whatever Simeone tries to do at the Emirates. Victor Osimhen on Galatasaray and transfer links. Victor Osimhen, who has been linked with both Barcelona and Arsenal, made a public statement that suggests he is in no rush to leave Galatasaray, but he said that he has found a home where he is comfortable and so are his family and close friends. He described the club as family, love, unity and utmost respect. My analysis is simple. Player statements do not always reflect what happens in the transfer window. We have seen many times in football where a player declares love for their club in April and is gone by August. But the tone of Osimhen's words is worth noting. He is not making himself available. He is not dropping hints about wanting a move. If Arsenal are seriously targeting him, they will need to offer something compelling enough to change that sentiment. Arsenal monitoring Serge Gnabry. A report from Sportsboom claims that Arsenal are keeping an eye on former gunner Serge Gnabry, who is currently at Bayern Munich and has been linked with a return to England this summer. Gnabry is valued at around 30 to 35 million euros by Bayern Munich. However, Arsenal are reportedly only expected to offer in the region of 20 to 25 million euros. My analysis here is clear. This is a rumour. The source is Sportsboom, which is not a verified top-tier transfer outlet. The gap between what Bayern Munich want and what Arsenal are reportedly willing to pay is significant. 10 million euros in valuation difference is not a small bridge to cross. I would treat this with caution. Gnabry is an interesting name given his Arsenal history, but at this stage there is nothing concrete to work with here. Jakub Kiwior, set to join Porto. This one has a clearer basis. Transfer journalist Nico Schirra reports that Jakub Kiwior is set to become a Porto player on a permanent deal worth around 20 million euros from Arsenal. The Polish defender has already agreed personal terms on a contract running until 2030. My analysis on this is that Kiwior has never truly established himself as a regular starter at Arsenal. With the depth of options Arsenal have at the back, and given their ambitions for next season, this departure makes sense from a squad management perspective. 20 million euros for a player who has struggled to get consistent minutes is reasonable business. Porto get a reliable, versatile defender. Arsenal raise funds and clear space in the squad. Both sides can be satisfied with that outcome if it goes through. Arsenal tracking Vasilije Kostov. Fabrizio Romano confirmed this one, and when Romano speaks, people listen. He said it is true what is being reported in Serbia. Arsenal are following 17-year-old Vasilije Kostov. The club made contact with people close to the player and are considering a move for him. Romano described this as genuine interest, saying Arsenal want to invest in talents, not only established players. He also added a note of caution, saying it is still early to say whether Arsenal will close this deal, but that they have been scouting and following the player, and it could be an interesting situation to watch ahead of the summer. My analysis here is that this is the kind of signing that might not make headlines now, but could matter enormously in 5 years. Arsenal's ability to identify and develop young talent is one of the things that sets this current project apart. A 17-year-old Serbian midfielder with genuine potential, scouted and monitored over time, fits exactly the profile of player that Arsenal's academy and development structure could benefit. This is not a transfer to get excited about today, but it is one to watch. Bayern Munich pushing to sign Kai Havertz. This is one of the more dramatic headlines of the day. Journalist James Benge reports that Bayern Munich are pushing to sign Kai Havertz from Arsenal this summer. My analysis here is careful. This is reported as Bayern pushing, not as something Arsenal are entertaining. There is a big difference between a club wanting your player and your club being willing to sell. Havertz has been a key part of Arsenal's system under Arteta. Any decision about his future would be a major one, not just a transfer piece. At this stage, it is a rumour with a credible journalist's name attached to it. It deserves to be monitored, not panicked over. Declan Rice faces Uefa disciplinary risk. Now let us go deeper on the story that has the most immediate consequences for Arsenal. The situation surrounding Declan Rice's post-match comments is genuinely serious. The facts are these. Referee Danny Makkelie awarded Arsenal a penalty when David Hanko brought down Eberechi Eze. After VAR intervened, Makkelie reviewed the decision at the monitor and reversed it. Rice spoke publicly afterward and suggested the fans provoke the decision and change the referee's mind. Rice went further. He was caught on camera in the tunnel telling the referee, and I quote directly, "You have probably been paid. That is a very serious allegation." And Uefa's disciplinary body is not going to overlook it. What makes this situation even more concerning is Rice's history. He was handed a 2-game ban 4 years ago when he was at West Ham after an angry rant at officials following their Europa League semi-final defeat to Eintracht Frankfurt. He's been in this situation before, he knows the rules. The reality for Arsenal is that they need Rice for the second leg of this Champions League semi-final. He is one of the most important players in that midfield. Losing him to suspension at this stage of the season would be a blow that is very difficult to absorb, especially with Odegaard already in doubt. Uefa's disciplinary body is waiting for the official referee's report. Once that is received, they will decide whether to take action. The analysis here is that the tunnel comment in particular, accusing the referee of being paid, is the kind of allegation that UEFA takes very seriously. This is not just an angry comment about the crowd, this is a direct attack on a referee's integrity. The outcome of this process is something Arsenal will be watching very closely in the next few days. Micah Richards on Arsenal's attacking form. The final piece I want to address is about Arsenal's attacking form and what Micah Richards has identified as the core problem. The evidence is in the results. Arsenal beat Newcastle 1-0. They lost 2-1 to Manchester City. They lost 2-1 to Bournemouth. They have not scored 2 goals in a game for a while. The front line is not clicking. Richards said this. He said, when you look at Arsenal's front three, they have not got the confidence that the other players have. He named Martinelli, Djokovic and Madueke specifically. He acknowledged they are all good players. He noted Madueke, Saka's return from injury and the fact that they all need to do more. The analysis here is that Richards has identified something real. Confidence in the final third is the difference between a good team and a great one. Martinelli has shown before that he can be a genuine goal threat, having previously scored 15 Premier League goals in a season. Gyökeres scored in a Champions League semi-final just last night, which is not the action of a player without ability, and Madueke has had moments of real impact. But there is something not quite clicking at the moment. The evidence is in the numbers. And Richards' diagnosis that it is about confidence rather than quality is a reasonable one. It also points to something that Saka's return could help address. Saka changes how defence is set up. When teams have to account for Saka, space opens elsewhere. His presence, even not at full fitness, could be the thing that unlocks the confidence of those around him. So here is where everything stands for Arsenal right now. They are still top of the Premier League. They are level at 1, all in a Champions League semi-final first leg. They have the statistical edge in the Opta modelling as favourites to win the entire competition, but they are sweating on Odegaard's knee. They are waiting to find out if Declan Rice will face a suspension. Their attacking confidence is not at its peak. And they are navigating transfer stories that will define the squad for next season. The next 10 days are going to be the most important of this Arsenal season. Saturday against Fulham in the Premier League, then Atletico Madrid at the Emirates in the Champions League. Everything the club has worked towards in this campaign comes down to what happens in those 2 games. I will be covering every development here on Melissa Arsenal, and make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss a single update. This is the moment we have been building towards, and I will be right here breaking it all down for you every step of the way. Thank you for watching. Stay with Arsenal.